LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return,
but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
With us joining right now is Norman Seabrook, who for many years ran the corrections union here, the prison guards and things like that. And Norman has a really great comment to make about yet another one of the many breaking stories this morning, which is that President Trump and Tom Homan have worked to bring in ICE agents to replace some of these TSA guys who have been calling out and causing these long lines. Norman, you just came into the studio a moment ago with a great idea. We all thought a great idea on how to handle this. Tell us about that, Norman.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for having me on. Good morning to the listeners. I think that it's important that people understand that the President of the United States is doing all he can to ensure safety and security throughout the airports and throughout our ports. And sometimes people get very upset when they hear the word ICE, ICE, ICE. They get they just overreact. And I think at the end of the day, him talking about putting ICE agents at the international airports and the other airports to expedite the travel, it's important. Now, here's the key to that. People are going to see ICE and they're going to, I don't want no ICE person checking me. So you know what we do? Put everybody in the same uniform. Now you don't know who's ICE and who's soda. Let's do something to make everybody happy. Put them all in one uniform, or if the ICE officers have a uniform, put them in a TSA uniform. Put everybody on the same page of music together. Put everybody looking the same. Everybody has on the same costume. There's no discrepancy about who's who and what's what.
That way, nobody can complain. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
In other words, don't give anybody reason to complain. George, you were in federal government for 27 years. What do you think?
Yeah, Norman, I think you bring up an interesting and a valid point, because the ICE has been, the ICE agents has gone through a lot of hardship, and unjustifiably so. They become targets, a political target for the Democratic Party. So having at the airport, you might get some of these crazies that also start yelling at ICE. I think that's a really good point. It really is.
Right. I'm hopeful that POTUS will pick up on it and direct Homan to do what it is that's necessary, because what we want to do is support the president. He's the president of the United States of America. He has intelligence that we don't have. And at the end of the day, we keep kicking the can down the road with the Democrats screaming and yelling. But those Democratic individuals that continue to hold us hostage, we are the ones suffering. And I don't understand why people can't make this connection to say, oh, wait a minute, Mr. Hakeem, you're not the one that sat this airport for 5 hours. We got to do better.
Norman Seabrook, we're talking to Norman Seabrook, the former head of the corrections union here in New York City. Norman, we have to also talk. We're going to talk about airports today. We got to talk about something else. You know a lot about Rikers Island. You know what you can see very clearly from Rikers Island, and that's LaGuardia Airport, where we've had this crash. This is one of our major breaking stories this morning. We thought it would be the only one, but we've got 2 or 3 others that have perked up. Again, just as someone who's represented all these union workers, there are a lot of people in the unions this morning who are scrambling because of this crash at LaGuardia. Going to be shut down, we're told, until at least 2 p.m. Complete shutdown at LaGuardia. What's it like when these kinds of emergencies happen, whether it's a total lockdown at a prison or a total lockdown at an airport? I mean, what are some of the things that get triggered from this?
What gets triggered from this is the exit ramp to the Marine Air Terminal that takes you to Rikers Island. And when you pass LaGuardia Airport, you have 2 options. You could go to LaGuardia, or you could proceed to the Marine Air Terminal, what takes you to Washington and all these other different places. But if the emergency services have shut it down, that means that all of the correction officers that are scheduled to work the 7 a.m. tour or whatever tour they're scheduled to work can't get there because of the emergency apparatus that's blocking the exits. So they have to make detours and try to get them in. And I think, when you look at this, we're in a very, very, very dangerous situation when we start to allow individuals to dictate to us where we should go and where we shouldn't go. What do I mean by that? Everybody getting off at the Marine Air Terminal two options. You either go into the airport, but now the airport's closed, so you're going to Rikers or you're going up to your home or your residence over there. So the Grand Central Parkway must be a nightmare at this point. And we just got to hope for the best. And, I'm certainly praying for those victims and their families, and they find comfort in them and go from there. And we got so much going on Rikers Island. The other day, the mayor came. He sat down with the religious group of young men, and I don't know if there were women present, probably not, and he ended his fast and his feast. And I think that sends a very, very, very bad message to the people of the city of New York. Not negating the fact that Eric Adams tried that once before with some reverend. I forget the reverend's name. They went and washed the feet of the inmates and stuff like that. But take the time to deal with the men and women that do the job. I didn't see you hold a dinner for the correction officers or the staff. I didn't see you stand there and give them the opportunity to speak to you one-on-one like you gave the inmates an opportunity. You're setting a very bad precedent here on what happens. And if Michael Bloomberg, mayor of the city of New York at the time, would have went and held a Jewish session, a Jewish celebration, the world would have went nuts. So at the end of the day, we have to come back a little bit and say, hold on a second, you're the mayor of the city of New York. Try going to visit those police officers that were injured in that incident, not the individual that tried to kill the police officers. Try visiting the individuals that put their lives on the line every single day and show them that you have respect for them. Even if you don't like them, respect them. That's what I tell people all the time when they talk to me about POTUS. You may not like them, but respect them, because the United States is the safest country in the world, and I will support the man to do what we have to do because it's about staying alive. I'm not interested in whether or not you like him. I'm interested in whether he could do the job.
Judge.
Norm, you hit it exactly right. WABC supports the blue. We always support the men and women in uniform. You and I have known each other for decades and decades and decades. Back in my days at City Hall, we always supported corrections. They have one of the toughest jobs in the world dealing with these people. When they want to get soft on crime and they let a lot of people out, you know what happens? The worst of the worst are inside, and this is a dangerous job for your men and women. And it's up to the mayor to show respect and support for the people in corrections, as well as NYPD and the fire department. These are people who protect and serve all the citizens of New York. It has nothing to do with race, religion, national origin. It has to do with protecting all of the people of the city. Your thoughts?
I think that you're 100% right, Judge. And I think that when you look at the bigger picture here, the mayor of the city of Newark jeopardized the safety and security of an institution. Why do I say that? Because if those individuals, and I'm not taking anything away from the service of them, they're entitled to pray, they're entitled to have meals or whatever, but you jeopardize the safety and security of the institution because there are no guns allowed in jail. None. Now, if those 50, 100, 200, 300, 500 inmates that were in that gymnasium decided to take that man hostage and everybody else, we'd be having a different conversation right now. Not everybody that's in jail is guilty, and not everybody that's in jail is innocent. We get that. But at the end of the day, don't jeopardize the safety and security of an institution for your political purposes of making a photo op. Because what happens when you look through the whole thing, okay, you're locked in there, the gates closed, there's 5 officers or 6 officers, there's 300, 400 inmates, you're having a feast or whatever the case may be, and they decide, someone in there decides that they're in charge, they call for a jihad or whatever it is that they're going to call for, and all of a sudden all hell breaks loose. I'm not saying it could happen, but I know it can happen. I've worked in an environment where you don't know what these men are thinking at any time.
Yeah, Norman, I just want to update everyone. We're talking to Norman Seabrook, who represented the corrections leader of the corrections union here in New York City for many years. But I want to give everyone updated on these 2 major breaking stories. There's so many more of them, actually, but the 2 big ones right now. Again, just in the last several minutes, just within this hour, President Trump announcing on social media that there have been productive talks with the Iranian regime. We don't know who in the Iranian regime, but that have talking about potentially ending all his hostilities. That has led to a postponement of the planned attack on the Iranian power grid, perhaps a 5-day postponement in overall maybe hostilities. We'll have to see. And so that has triggered a drop in oil prices, a major sharp rise in stock future prices. Again, trading doesn't begin until 9:30. The other thing that has been breaking since last night, but still breaking here in New York, is this crash on the runway at LaGuardia Airport. a regional jet operated by Air Canada and Jazz Aviation hitting a Port Authority fire truck, killing the pilot and the co-pilot. Minor injuries to the 76 passengers on that plane, but the entire LaGuardia Airport completely shut down at least until 2 p.m. This is a major. These two major stories right now breaking, and there are so much else going on as well. But that is again, these are our two major stories, and we were talking about another major breaking story with Norman Seabrook about President Trump talking about now bringing in ICE agents. This is now going to happen. This is not just theoretical. ICE agents to fill in for those major losses of TSA workers who've been calling out sick or quitting because they haven't been paid during this Democrat-forced partial shutdown of the government. And Norman Seabrook, just want to get back to the point you just made, your advice to put those ICE agents into the same uniforms that the TSA workers use so that they can't be scrutinized, they can't be attacked, because, as we know, they have been threatened physically for quite some time now.
Absolutely, and I think that that's very, very, very important, Jake, because at the end of the day, what you don't want to do is you don't want to cause a bigger problem. We already know that there's people standing on lines for 3, 4, 5 hours to get in, get checked, get on an aircraft. Excuse me, you have children with them, and it's a really tough situation. But now you're putting ICE agents there, and the ICE agent is walking up the corridor, wherever he or she is walking, the uniform says ICE. That is red flag right there. That's like the bull. That's like the bull coming in, the matador, and there he is right there. Let's get him. Now, regardless of how you feel about ICE, they have a job to do. Respect the fact that they have a job to do. You may not agree with their job, but if you don't agree with it, elect somebody else and put them in office. But right now, this is what we have. This is what we deal with.